A very good afternoon to all. On behalf of IIP technical team, I, Dr. Uttara Mohan, welcome you to the webinar on role of foam rollers in sports injuries by resource person Dr. Rajni Patil. This webinar is being streamed live on IIP India YouTube channel. Please subscribe to this channel to get regular updates of our webinars. You can also follow the updates on IIP Facebook page. To know about upcoming webinars and to register for the webinars, you can sync the IIP Google Calendar into your Gmail account to view the entire schedule. Today's webinar is being organized by IIP Women's Health Thane district of Maharashtra. The moderators for today's session are Dr. Smriti Sote, Dr. Jayaganta Rathod, and Dr. Rima Ranka. I request the moderators to start with the session.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Independence Day to all. Let me start this webinar with a brief introduction of IIPWC. IIP Women's Health functions under the guidance of National Head Dr. Ruchi Vashni and IIP President Dr. Sanjeev Jha. We have 5 zones in India with heads for each. Dr. Pooja Kamble is the head of West Zone. The state team of IIPWC Maharashtra includes State Coordinator Dr. Suvarna Ganveer Ma'am, Joint Coordinator Dr. Snehal Patel, and Sub-Coordinator Dr. Uttara Mohan, Dr. Priya Karande, and Dr. Nirali Sangvi. In Maharashtra, IIPWC has conducted more than 40 plus low-cost activities like CMEs, workshops, public awareness camps, health camps in various districts since 2018. We have also organized 38 webinars on topics such as PNF for trunk, NDT, kinetic control, disability evaluation, SCI rehab, diabetic food, IG, and many more. We would appreciate your feedback on our webinar, and please submit the feedback on the given link at the end of the webinar. To know more about the IIP webinar, sync IIP events Google Calendar into your Gmail account. Today's webinar is conducted on foam roller in sports injury by IIPWC Thane district. Myself, Dr. Smriti Sorte, I'm the district coordinator. Dr. Jayaganta Patil Rathod and Dr. Rima Ranka are the district coordinators. During the webinars, if you have any queries or question to ask the resource person, you may please ask it in the chat section. Today's resource person is Dr. Rajni Patil. Dr. Rajni Patil is a spine and sports physiotherapist with 19 years plus of experience. She is the founder of OrthoSports Physiotherapy. She is sports consultant for several groups and forums, academic faculty for ACSM and ESA, advisory expert for fitness magazines, writes regular articles for various forums, and conducts frequent health and sports and ergonomic workshops and sessions. Dr. Rajni Patil, we are very keen to hear from you and learn more about foam roller. Over to you, ma'am. You are mute. Dr. Rajni Patil, ma'am, you are mute.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smriti, for inviting me to this session. I'm very happy to be here. So today's topic, foam rolling, I have taught many sessions of foam roller. I also teach athletes, but 2 physios as well. So today's topic, it's like a 1 hour session. So we'll just cover some of the basic things about the foam roller, how that applies to sports injuries, what you might see with your patients. And then, but of course, please remember that there is a lot on this topic that you can do some research on your own or attend more webinars, but I'll give you the basic gist of how to use the foam roller for sports injuries. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, so just to give you a very brief background, I have been practicing for 19 years. My first 8-9 years of practice have been in the US. I was introduced to the foam roller in the US in my early part of my practice in the US. India mein the roller has come much later. I feel it is still a new thing and lots of people are still learning about it. But I used to use, in clinical practice, I used to use a half roller, if you know what a half foam roller is. And then we would graduate to a full foam roller for patient rehab. And because I was part of a orthopedic outpatient department, we used to see primarily sports and musculoskeletal injuries. So, and now in India, my practice, I've been practicing in Shivaji Park for 10 years now. So I see a lot of sports injuries, or as may say running, golf, football. These are primary ones that I see. Some cricket and tennis as well. So today I just want to talk to you about some of the common injuries that can happen and how you can connect the roller along with these injuries. So let's take a look at some of the most common injuries in different sports. Every sport, as you know, has a different category of injuries that are more common for that sport. Running, for example, if I had to pick the most common, and I say running because we are seeing that a lot of people are taking up running. But if we are going to look at athletes, even the kids playing cricket and football, even in those, there are specific kinds of injuries that crop up over and over and over. And these are the ones that usually come into the clinic. So there is a pattern that you will see with these patients, and you can almost always be able to help them using a foam roller. And I'll tell you how. I'll get into that a little bit. So some of the common injuries, you might have seen all of these: shin splints, ankle sprains, strain, muscle strain, and sprains, hamstring strain, dislocated shoulder, ACL tear, groin pull, tennis elbow. These are some of the injuries that you see in sports. So how do you integrate your foam roller in the sports injury practice? I want you to think about all the things that you use in your practice to treat your sports injury patient, whether it's a knee or a shoulder or back. Think about how you can integrate the foam roller or a trigger point ball. So I'll show you the different foam rollers as well. So how you can integrate this along with other things that you use to treat. So just to treat a sports injury, you know your assessment is king. So you need to start with a very solid assessment. Only that's going to give you a clue into what's going to work the best. So you might be using PNF techniques, muscle energy, kinetic control. You're using all sorts of manual therapy techniques, mobilizations, all that you're using. You might be working with muscular imbalances, flexibility training, strength training, all of that. Where does the foam roller fit in is what I want you to start thinking from now on in your clinical practice. For almost every injury that I see in the clinic, I know at least 1 or 2 foam rolling techniques that immediately give me a result so that I'm able to step up to the next level of therapy. For example, say a runner has come in with a Achilles tendonitis, and they've had Achilles tendonitis for a while. And on examination, if I find that not only is there is an imbalance between the glutes and the quads, say for example, but there is a huge trigger point and a lot of tightness sitting in the calf muscle. So I'm going to address with the foam roller and trigger point therapy the calf, and then work on the glutes and core, and that's going to give me a faster results as compared to only if I straight went into strength training for this person. So that's just one example. We'll do a few of them. I'll even show you a few techniques for using some of these foam rolling exercises as a therapy. So let's see, let's refresh the basics. If you have used a foam roller before, what is it? You know that it's a block of foam. So this is like a foam roller that I commonly use. This is a medium density foam roller. And you can get different sizes and kinds. So this one is an advanced foam roller that I use. But remember that there are several in between. You can get like several grids. There'll be variations on these striations. So these will be smaller or bigger. They'll be softer and harder. So this might be hollow or it's full. This one can be soft, So the density, if it is soft, medium, or hard. So many kinds of rollers are there. You need to be able to figure out what is it that works best for you in your practice. I have a range so that I know that for a senior citizen, I might want to use like a softer roller versus if I have an athlete coming in, I need to probably start using the advanced one right away. So it's nice to have like a range of these things so that you can pick and choose according to what your physio needs are for your patient. We'll talk about how it works. Also, the great thing with a foam roller is a home exercise program, I feel, becomes very easy for the patient. So sometimes we teach manual release to a patient, but that may or may not be done correctly. Foam rolling techniques or like a handheld foam rolling technique or with a trigger point release ball. These are easier to teach in some way, and I feel the compliance also is really high. So I get very good results when I teach patients foam rolling for a specific pain point, and then to integrate that into their home program along with other things. So how does it work? It works on the myofascia. You know about the myofascia. It works on releasing trigger points. It's like a self-massage or a manual therapy that you can do on your own. It can break adhesions. It can improve circulation. It can help lengthen the muscle so that you will get to a flexible range of motion or a joint range of motion faster than you would have with any other technique. It can give you it's a little bit different from massage in the way that it's compressive rather than distractive to the fascia. So it works slightly differently. These are all the things that I usually use the roller for, and you can use it for all these reasons for your athletes and for your sports injuries. Pain relief is obviously number one. I use it a lot for pain relief, and it's just a matter of finding out what is the limiting factor, where is the trigger point, and then use the foam roller there and go from there. Myofascial release, trigger point release, postural awareness. You know that any sports injury can be because the posture or the form was not correct for the player. Stretching and flexibility, you can use it for dynamic warm-up. I can give you a full dynamic warm-up routine for the athlete so that they are doing so much better in their sport and don't get injured as much. So like a preventive aspect of it. Recovery techniques. So a lot of recovery exercises can be done. You can teach your patients that, okay, this is the sport that you are playing. After every game, you need to be able to do at least these 3 or 4 exercises specifically, and that is your job to figure out which are those muscles that primarily get used in a particular sport, and give them foam rolling specifically for that so that they are not coming back with the same injury over and over and over. Balance and proprioception, there are about 20-30 exercises you can do for balance and proprioception, and you know how important that is for sports. Core workouts, a lot of core exercises can be done with the roller. So this is a myth, I feel somewhere people think that the foam roller only needs to be used to release muscle and to lengthen muscle. It's and for a recovery tool. Yes, it's excellent for that, but it can also be used for a lot of these other things. It can help improve their performance, their athletic performance, but also for balance and proprioception. Strength training you can do with a foam roller. Core workouts you can do, dynamic and static cool down, everything you can do. Like you can make a complete routine for your athlete who recovers from the sports injury. So there's a lot that you can learn there. Types of rollers, there are many. You get mini rollers, handheld rollers, all of these. This is a black roll. Basically, it's a trigger point release ball. You also get these dual balls. I have it here somewhere, like a dual ball, which works really well on the spine. So if you have somebody with restrictions in the spine, then you can use that against the wall and you get really good results with that. How to choose, again, depends on the purpose. Are you using it for posture? Are you using it to improve for pain? It depends on the age of the person. If it is a sports injury, then you want to think about the history of the athlete, how hard the muscles are. So as an example, if you use say a medium density roller to a comrades runner, he's not going to really feel anything, and it's not going to feel like he's getting much results. So for them, you want to go with a advanced roller. So this is just one example where you can plug in different kinds of rollers, how to choose. Do's and don'ts, many mistakes happen. So you have to be very careful when you're teaching your patients that how to use it, because I've seen a lot of injuries happen, especially on the spine. People like to roll on the spine. You don't want to do that at all. If you're using it for knee pain, you have to make sure that they are not at all touching the knee joint or in the back. You want to make sure that they are staying primarily on muscle. This is for a recovery technique that we are using. Respect age for your patients. Make sure that you're not doing something that there is a certain kind of control that you need for your patients to have already to use a foam roller. So athletes work perfect for this because they already have some amount of core. So if you're treating for sports injuries, then it works really, really well. Okay, now for athletes, when we are looking at training or getting rid of pain for sports injuries, then we are also looking at the fact that the connective tissue, when these players are using consistently, they are playing a certain, and all sports tend to be repetitive. So definitely what's happening is that the strength reduces over time only because of the fact that the eccentric exercise, it can cause damage to the connective tissue over time. And because of which the pain becomes higher, and this obviously restricts or inhibits muscle power. So if you want to work on muscle power, you want to get to the connective tissue, release the fascia, the pain receptors will calm down, and then you'll be able to get a much better result with your strength training. These are some studies that have been done, just some research articles. If anybody is interested, I can send you some recent ones that look at the effect of if you do only stretching or with foam rolling stretching, what is the range of motion differences that you get, or all the other kinds of things that you can do with the foam roller. There are lots of studies out there. So for all your injuries, if you have a sports injury, no matter which joint it is, you want to think about using the roller in a comprehensive way. So if you are looking at them just to treat it, don't just think about treating the pain and then that's it. You want to look at the full sport, how they are playing it. You want to do functional assessments with them for that particular sport, figure out what is the limiting factor, why that injury happened in the first place. So you might find that either mobility workout with a roller is something that you want to give them a home program for, or their recovery somewhere is lacking and hence they are getting injured again and again. Or like a posture, if there is something wrong in the posture or technique, there you can use a foam roller. So think about everything that you can integrate with the roller for your treatments. Myofascial release, MFR, some of the things that we use manually are these, but you can use the roller to do all of that. So postural awareness and correction, you can do by using the foam roller to do all of these things. Make sure that you can help patients understand pelvic neutral alignment with a roller alone. Core activation can be done with the roller. It acts as a biofeedback mechanism. I have used it many, many times and gives great results. Flexibility and mobility. All these joints, all these areas, wherever you have pain, you can look at improving the range of motion and mobility and hence getting rid of your pain. Sometimes it is just a matter of getting to their end range and that alone helps you get rid of the pain. Dynamic warm-up, you can use it for recovery techniques. Obviously, we use it a lot for balance and proprioception. core workouts, activation and stabilization exercises you can do with the roller. There are so many that you could be doing. Now, these are some of the common injuries that can happen. So I thought we could take up 2 or 3 common things, and we can discuss that. And then I'll show you some exercises with the foam roller, how to do specific techniques. So let's take, for example, if you have a muscle strain, say there is a quadricep or a glute muscle strain that has happened. So if there is a strain, it depends on the phase that this injury has come to you at. If it is at the stage where there is no swelling, there is the pain is not constant. So it's not a mechanical, it's a mechanical pain. It's not in a chemical phase right now. Then this is the time where you can use a foam roller to get rid of the pain that originates from a strain. So a quad rolling technique is something that I'm going to show you. And a glute rolling technique. Glute rolling technique, I find a lot of people do it wrong. So I'm definitely going to show you glute and quad. Calf also I would like to show you, because Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, shin splints, these are all related to the calf. There are sometimes huge trigger points sitting in the calf, and only when you palpate that you know that they are there. Sometimes when patients foam roll, they are able to tell you themselves that, look, there is a huge trigger point. I mean, they might not know it's a trigger point. You may have to tell them that. But they will say that, oh, there's one spot that hurts like crazy. And then when you release that spot, you immediately get opening. So sort of like what you do with dry needling, but this can be a more sustained way of doing it, because you're teaching it to them. And then they can do it at home as well. So they're not dependent on you as much. So these 3 techniques I'm definitely going to show you. So let me do that. So I'm going to do it in the back over there. I'm going to turn some lights on so you can see me well. I'm going to do it with the medium density roller. I'm going to start with a glute rolling first. Remember, if I have a glute trigger point, or if I have pain in the glutes, it may not be pain in the glutes itself. It could be pain in the lower back, in the QL area. It could be pain in the hamstring area. It could be, groin, any of these connective areas, sometimes the hip joint, if it's hurting. All of these, when I roll the glute, I get fabulous results. Sometimes I'm not able to get enough strength in the glute med or in the adductor. So or SI joint correction. So any of these, I find that when I roll the glutes, or the glute med to be specific, I'm able to get results faster. So this is a technique that I want you to see. So to roll the glutes, should I put myself on speaker mode, Dr. Smriti?
Can you turn off the screen sharing during the demo? Then you will be visible on full screen. So later you can turn it on the screen share again.
Yes, let me do that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. So the glute rolling, you want to start off by sitting on the roller. Now, this is a common mistake that a lot of people make, is they don't know which side to turn. So if you are, supposing you're trying to roll the left glute, then you want to cross the left leg over. Okay, now you're going to turn over to the left, because you want to get the glute med for sure. Because I usually find trigger points not in the glute max, but in the glute med deep. So this is a rolling technique that I would use. And sometimes you can have a trigger point very high, or sometimes quite deep. So you may want to, have them change the angle and see which one works better. But most people tend to cross the other side and go here. So make sure you tell your patients to do this correctly. Sit on the roller, turn your body completely to one side, and then do a rolling. Because this is not a huge area, you don't have to really worry about getting the whole area properly. You just need to make sure the technique is correct, and then the job is done. So this is a rolling technique. Now, say you found a trigger point in the glute med area. Then you want to release that with the ball. Of course, you could do a manual release, but you can teach them to do this at home. I prefer to make my patients as independent as possible. So I'm basically going to place the ball there exactly on that spot in the same position that I was rolling. Now I can roll just a little bit to figure out where the trigger point is. Once I identify the trigger point, I want to stay there for 30 seconds straight. And this sometimes can be very, very painful. So you take a call on whether your patient can tolerate this or not. You can start off with a little bit at a time, 10 seconds, but usually 30 seconds, if you don't hold, the trigger point doesn't release. So after this, you want to finish off with a glute stretch, which you know what a glute stretch is. Or you can do a pigeon stretch, which is that. Okay, so you want to roll the glute first, then you want to do trigger point release for the same area, glute med, and then stretch out the glute. And this, then whatever it is that you're working on, you see the difference. I see huge hip range improvements. Internal, external rotation opens up. Sometimes my clamshells improve so much, the strength just comes back suddenly. You name it, even knee pain sometimes goes away just by rolling the glute. If I feel that is connected to the knee pain. Let's do a quad rolling. To do a quadricep rolling, I'm basically going to be in a plank position and roll. Now, when I do a bilateral technique, this is obviously a bilateral technique, you're not going to feel as much pressure. So to get it on one quad, I just move the roller over and I do it that way. Okay, and then the slower that you go, the better it is, so that the patient also understands if there are pain spots. Because when you're rolling, it would either feel like the whole muscle feels tight, or they might tell you, no, everything is okay, except for this one point that hurts a lot. So if you have found that there is one spot that hurts a lot, then you want to make sure that they release it. Okay, and then just stay there. If you find a spot that hurts, then you just hold it. Okay, so that's quadricep, foam rolling and trigger point release. A lot of times there are a lot of triggers sitting right there through right into the quadricep. Sometimes the VMO, the vastus lateralis, all this holds a lot of trigger points. So I usually like to work on this area and teach them how to do it. I will also sometimes teach them against the wall, so it's quick. That. The idea is to hold it there for about 30 seconds so that they feel like they got the release, and then you can teach them stretching for the quadricep after this. I wanted to show you the calf release. So for calf rolling, to do a single calf roll, I'm going to cross the leg over, place it right on the center of the calf, lift and roll. So this is a single technique. This puts a lot of pressure on the calf muscle. Make sure you ask them to do the whole calf instead of just the top or the bottom, the gastroc or the soleus. Make sure you get them both. Also remember, you could have some trigger points on the outer calf or inner calf. So make sure you do out. And turn the foot in and do in. Now, if you have found a trigger point, again, the same thing you do. You can sit on it, place the ball there and put pressure, and that will do it. Or you can have them hold a handheld roller and go like that and release the pressure from there. So, having these things are handy if the patient or you don't have a handheld roller or the ball, then a tennis ball also works, a cricket ball, something that's nice and firm. Lacrosse balls also you get, which are useful. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen share. I think there are some questions. I'll just take these questions quickly before I go to specific condition. If we use after a workout or when the muscle is warm, injure it more. No, it doesn't. In fact, we use it for recovery as a cool down technique. So say the patient is, you want to teach them to do it as a part of their cool down. So as you know, if a patient, if it's a runner, say for example, and they've been running and you don't tell them to immediately stop and then start doing foam rolling. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. They still need to do a cool down, which is for the heart, right? So they have to walk a little bit so their body cools down. And then you're going to do the foam rolling and stretching. So that's usually how you want to do it. So the question is the frequency and intensity of foam roller during treatment. So this just depends on how much I need to use. Sometimes I use it as much as 3 to 5 reps of 1 minute per muscle group. If I get the results that I need, then I just give them that for home program. But sometimes I need to go more intense. I need to do several different muscles. So that depends on your assessment. It all goes back to your assessment, how much you want to do. Intensity may 1 per muscle group is all I do. I don't do a lot more because then you can have soreness with it also. Frequency, if you want to give them as a home program, once a day is good enough. You don't want to go crazy with it. You don't want to have soreness. You don't want to have wrong form. Make sure you tell them that you might get a little bit sore when you first start to use it, especially if you're treating for some pain issue. So these are some specific injuries that I thought we could discuss today from a foam rolling perspective. Let's look at the ITBS. For the ITB syndrome, the way that I use the foam roller is that I'm going to obviously check everything from core down to the foot. I'm going to look at what their foot is like, whether they're overpronating or not, whether I need to give them some fascia release there, plantar fascia release there. But I'm also going to look at the thigh structure. So VMO versus the vastus lateralis. What is hyper overworking? Is something underworking? If most of the times what I will find is the ITB structure along with the vastus lateralis have gone into either a tightness or soreness or spasm. And it stays like that, or sometimes it could be a muscle mass difference. Like you can significantly see vastus VMO so much less bulkier as compared to the vastus lateralis. So that correction sometimes happens when you start using the roller, not necessarily for the ITB, even though I do prescribe ITB rolling from a prevention perspective. But if you are treating the ITB syndrome, if it's already hot, so hot meaning if it's already painful, then you don't want to roll on that. You want to work on the surrounding structures, roll the hamstring, roll the vastus lateralis, work on the VMO, work on the core and glutes, roll the glutes as well, because remember I told you sometimes you can have like a glute med, big trigger point sitting there, which is completely shutting off and inhibiting the glutes from working, and hence the ITB comes under strain. So this is how I would treat the ITB. Again, it all depends on your assessment. You want to look at it up to down. But generally, I would do foam rolling and trigger point release for vastus lateralis. I would do for hamstring. I would do for calf and glute med. So these four I would definitely look at. release all the trigger points that are there, teaching them how to do a trigger point release at home, and then stretching those areas to make sure that that it doesn't keep coming back. Otherwise, the trigger points are just going to keep coming back, and then work on strength after that. So that's ITBS. Let's look at runner's knee. So runner's knee, similarly, there is a lot of muscular imbalance that's happened. So here as well, we are going to look at in a very similar way. So the focus with the ITB tends to be core and glute as far as strengthening is concerned. But so it is for the runner's knee as well. But assess and see whether which part of the core isn't functioning. Is it the glute? Is it the oblique where something is missing, and then try to substitute that, but look at what muscular imbalances you can correct with the foam roller. Patella tracking issues also I have corrected very well using the foam roller just by rolling the right area. So when you palpate, you will understand where to foam roll. Back pain, obviously, if it is any kind of radicular issue below the knee pain, then I don't use the roller at all. If it is pain that is only going up to the knee, I will still use it depending on the stage that it's at. So how severe the pain is, whether it's constant or not, how hot it is. So if it is disc related, then I don't usually use the roller. But otherwise I do. And I find a lot of good results with using the roller for patients with chronic back pain. If I work on the QL, do a trigger point release for a QL, teach them rolling for the QL. Glute, because it's just not functioning well and the lower back is just overworking all the time. So I will work on those two structures, and then obviously I will activate the core. Postural correction also I do with the foam roller. I teach them 5 exercises for posture correction with the roller, and that makes up like a whole program. Obviously hamstrings is not an area that I usually foam roll if there is any radicular pain, because I don't want any compressive forces to happen. However, there have been cases that I have treated disc issues, which, you know, the pain, the acute pain, the active pain sort of went away, the leg pain went away. But every now and then they would have some kind of a discomfort or the same nerve pain that they say goes down the leg. And I can just do foam rolling for all the lower body muscles and this vanishes. So somewhere, you know, there could be like an entrapment or the adhesions formed, and that the foam roller can take care of. But if I'm looking at lower back pain, central low back pain, or unilateral low back pain, then foam rolling works brilliantly for that. So how would you design a program for your client or for your patient? So you want to look at, you want to understand one, from your assessment, from your functional assessments, what is it that you want from your, for the pain relief? What is the kind of thing that you want? So the purpose you need to know. The type of foam roller also important to understand, and then based on that you design your foam rolling session for them. Okay, these are some things that you can probably think about and let me know. So this is what are the 3 common foam rolling mistakes that people make? If you know of these, you can put it in the chat. Clinical injury case study for Achilles tendon. Say you had a patient with Achilles tendon, how would you treat this from point A to Z? So from say 8 out of 10 pain down to 0 out of 10 pain, how would you manage that? This is just something for you to take away or do on your own, like a work. And this one, the third one, if your patient has, say, they've been running on the treadmill and they started to have back pain after that, central low back pain, how would you treat this? And if you had to design a program for runners, then would you be able to do that? You need to be able to figure out what are the common muscles, the biomechanics of running, common muscles that are used during running, and how to design a warm-up and a cool-down program for them, even a strength training or a flexibility, mobility training for the runner. So this is just something that you can think about and do for yourself. And if you need to get back to me for any of this, I can be available. So that's about it. These are my details. That's my email address, rajni@orthosports.in. That's my number. But that's it. I'm done with my presentation, Dr. Smriti. I can take questions now. I'll stop the screen share.
Yes, we have few questions. What is your experience with RAD roller?
Okay. Are you talking about a handheld roller?
Okay, the question is with RAD roller, RAD.
I'm not aware.
Okay. The frequency and intensity of foam
This I
roller
already
during
answered.
treatment.
I already answered this question.
Okay. Can you show some core activation exercises with the foam roller?
Yes, certainly. Let me show you one right now. So there are 2-3 ways that you can teach your patients to do core activation. The way that I like to show it is in standing, a dynamic way of doing it, because I feel that sticks better. So first, when you are teaching core activation for the patients, you want to make sure that they understand neutral spine. So this is a great way to teach them. You want your patient to go into a squat position. You want to teach them what is neutral spine for the neck, what is neutral spine for the lower back. So I'll teach them to do a slouch over correct in this position. If there is one hand here, then they know that they are at neutral. So the roller gives them a very nice feedback as opposed to the wall. And then because they are in a squat position, the core will activate a lot faster. Now from this position, I just have them activate all the core muscles. Either individually, I can teach them all 3 muscles, the rectus, transverse, oblique, how to activate them individually. Or I'll just ask them to make a funnel here, which means just activate all the core muscles. Keep the glute med and the glutes engaged here. The quadriceps already are engaged. And now making sure that they are doing nice deep breaths and with the core activated, the glutes activated. I have them do this. Because here now the core is activating, the core has to activate in order to maintain this position. Or then I'll throw in like a rotation. Or I'll do a resistance band exercise from here, like diagonals. Because then everything together is working and the core activates really well. The same thing you can do with lying down to activate the core. That I was rolling. Now I can roll just. Sorry, so I'm showing you another core activation. So to activate the core lying down, you basically teach them how to activate the core, get into a nice strong bridge, and then roll. Teach the patient not to use the hamstring, but to use the glute and the core to maintain this position when they roll forward and back. So I find these exercises very superior to teach patients core activation.
Ma'am, if you want to ask, can you show the foam roller technique for quadratus lumborum?
Yes. Foam rolling for QL. So I start off with trigger point release and then I stretch. Because it's a spot where you can't really foam roll, correct? Because it's a small area. So you want to go with the ball in first, and then you want to use the roller to stretch it out. So here's how I do it. So for a QL release, I'm going to place it on the QL. and you might find the trigger point right away, or sometimes you might need to hunt for it. So against the wall, now that I found the QL, I'm going to place my body weight into it. The ball is over there. And I put my body weight into it. I can do the same thing on the floor as well. If your patients find it difficult to do it against the wall or don't get enough release with the wall, then you can have them do this. I'm just going to place it. Okay, I'm going to stay there. So this, if they can tolerate it, this works really, really well. Remember, you have to rotate a little bit into it in order for that to press down properly into it. So after this, you want to do a positional release for the QL, which is basically you want to put the roller there. Okay. And that. That's going to stretch my top QL, and it's also going to help with the bottom QL. And then I can just rotate forward just a little bit, and that's going to stretch my QL. So those are the techniques that you can use for the QL. So, but I would start with releasing the QL first and then stretching it. And then of course, static stretches you can definitely give for the QL, which makes it stick, which makes it last.
The next question is ice pack given after the roller treatment?
Yes, yes. Especially the first couple of times when you use it, the patients feel, "Arey baap re, pehle hi dukh raha tha, abhi aur dukh raha hai." Sometimes it can feel like that, you know. So because you work on the muscle, it can get sore very quickly. The first few times you put an ice pack, tell them to do it at home as well. And then over time, they understand that it's soreness, then they don't necessarily need to ice it every time.
Then ma'am, is it beneficial for flat back and severe hip arthritis?
Yeah, so it depends on how, in your assessment, what you have found. If the hip arthritis is so bad that the range of motion is stuck or everything is causing pain with the joint, I feel at some point it will still help, but you may have to modify the techniques a little bit. So the glute technique will definitely help. For flat back, it helps to use the roller to teach them how to do pelvic tilts on the roller. That helps a lot. But for flat back patients, what I find is if their QL is very tight, release the QL and then teach them the pelvic neutral, slouch over correct, and that works well.
Okay. Ma'am, the next question is, could you demonstrate for postural corrections?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I'll show you, I have two that I really like to do for postural correction. See, postural correction, there are many things that we want to look at. But the main things we want to do is open up your pec and open up your thoracic spine. So there are two techniques that will work on the roller. One is you place it vertical. You lie on the roller. Make sure that the neck is always supported on the roller. You do not want your patient's head hanging off. You want to be here. Now in this position, you're going to bring your hands at 90-90 and go down towards the floor. Now, before you do this, you could even do a trigger point release for the pec. And that gives really beautiful opening here. And it helps with posture tremendously. So this one, let them hold. Then you go higher. Again, 30 seconds. I usually have them hold for 30 seconds. And then that. You don't want to go all the way straight. You want to be here. And make sure that you're giving repetitions of 30 for this one. The next one you can do is for thoracic opening. Starting position, hands clasped and all the way down. Remember, again, neck has to be supported with the hands. They cannot be hanging loose. We don't want to have any neck injuries. So just that, and try to push the elbows towards the floor. And this gives a really nice thoracic opening. Again, this is a position. This is not a rolling. We are not rolling the spine. We're just holding that position. Then I come a couple of vertebrae down, and then I do the same thing. Okay, and then I can do that all the way through my whole thoracic spine. I can do that. These two techniques work super fast and really well for posture.
Ma'am, similarly, can you show it for plantar fasciitis?
Yes. So for plantar fasciitis, I would start by it's all about assessment, but lie arches, if they are supinated, then you want to go on the bottom of the arch. So put the ball, I'm wearing shoes, but I'm going to put the roller in the middle of the foot, sorry, the trigger point ball in the middle of the foot, and have them put as much pressure as they can take. If they are not able to tolerate this, then you can just have them start off with sitting and then standing, itna pressure, and then eventually have them put as much pressure. This opens the plantar fascia first, and then you can do your calf rolling, your calf trigger point release, and then stretching.
Okay. And ma'am, is it beneficial for flat back and severe hip arthritis?
Yes, I already answered this.
Okay. Can we use foam roller in shin pain patients?
Yes. Shin splints we treat with foam rollers quite a bit. For shin splints, look and see where the problem lies, whether it's a core glute issue, whether it's the calf that's overworking, the shin muscles are weak, what is the issue? But usually I will start with glute rolling. I will do calf rolling for sure. I usually find a lot of trigger points in the calf. And you can do tibialis anterior, just go all over that, the peroneal group, show them foam rolling for that and trigger point release, and that works well. But obviously you can do core exercises on the foam roller as well.
Okay. Ma'am, can foam roller be done every day?
Yes, it can be.
Okay.
So when I teach foam rolling programs, I give them, okay, ek din core workout karo, ek din flexibility, ek din recovery karo. If you are running, then on the running days you do recovery, on the other days you do strength stuff with the roller.
Okay. And can we use foam roller in ankylosed spine, and how can we do it if you could demonstrate that?
Ankylosing spondylitis, again, this is a very tricky area. This needs to be treated one-to-one. So it depends on how bad it is, how stiff they are. You can use the roller. You may want to start with opening the pec, doing trigger point release for the scapula. You may want to start with releasing QL and all that. So in that way, indirectly you can do that, but directly on the spine, I'm not sure if I would use it on ankylosing.
And ma'am, which type of roller should beginners use?
Medium density is good, the one that I have.
Okay. And in which conditions do you activate single core muscles?
If I find that a certain injury is caused because of single muscle not activated. For example, I had a patient with a rib pain on one side, and I found that the opposite side oblique muscle was not firing well. So I only activated that particular muscle, but that again depends on your assessment. So there are many conditions like that where single core muscles sometimes you have to activate.
Okay. Ma'am, can you please show dual ball roller technique for spine and which conditions it can be given for spine?
Okay, so good question. The dual ball, I have it here. I should have it here. So when you use it for the spine, you want to use it for conditions that, sometimes you can have pain with unilateral neck pain, scapula pain, pain going into the shoulder blade, sometimes even radicular pain that referred pain that goes down till here. Obviously, it's a true radicular pain that's going into the hand, and I'm not going to mess with that much. That's a disc, if it's a disc issue and it's hot. But otherwise, I can use the dual ball for along the spine, and I can use it to release all the trigger points on the scapula. So I'll just see if I find the roller, the ball. Yes. So that's a dual ball. So very easy to use it against the wall. Start your patients off on the wall, because that way they are able to understand it should not be on the spine, on the bone, correct? So it needs to be on either side of the spine. So I would start off with, say, there. So once I bend my knees and I put pressure on it, then I can gradually roll up and down. So I'm on both sides of the spine. Okay, periscapular, just that whole area, I'm going to release with that. And then if I find that there is one spot that's very painful, then I just hold it there for 30 seconds. Push my body into it and hold it for 30 seconds. Same exact thing you can do on the floor. But when you do it on the floor, it's very, very intense. So you want to be careful how to do it. You want to do it on the wall first.
Okay. Ma'am, few people want to ask, is it helpful in varicose veins or spider veins?
No, not really. I wouldn't roll on that.
Okay. And ma'am, could you show us some exercises for neck muscles or suboccipital muscles?
Okay. So neck muscles, the one that I typically do is upper trapezius. There is one technique that you can use against the wall. I'll show you that one. And sometimes you can have pain in the suboccipital area coming from here. So usually if I am able to take care of this one, then all this sometimes goes away. This is a handheld roller, by the way, which I can use for any of these. So this I can use it on, have somebody else do it for you, or on your, if say on the shin. So a shin rolling technique is a little bit complex for patients to understand. So then I'll just have them use the handheld roller. But again, I don't have all of my patients buy everything. I will tell them use a balun. If you have at home, you can use that in the same way. Okay, so I was going to show you the trapezius. So to do a trapezius technique, you want to place the roller, the ball exactly on the spot. Go into the wall like that. I've placed it exactly on the spot, and then I'm just going to hold it there for 30 seconds. It's a little bit of a tricky technique. You have to get the angle properly, and you need like a corner wall like that. Only then you properly get the release.
So the next is, can you activate single oblique muscles? Can you please demonstrate the technique?
Yeah, you can activate obliques, single oblique. So one exercise that I use, that's not with a roller. It's, so I have patients lie down like this. I bring the hand back, and then all I tell them to do is from here rotate up and come towards the opposite knee. This is where I'm going to get the oblique to activate. And I'll tell them to keep their hands so that they feel the activation. And it's not a full rotation. It's a very small movement going towards the knee. It's important to rotate with it though. That is one. The other one that I sometimes use is just reach to the opposite side. So those are a couple of isolated oblique movements. Of course, that I didn't use the roller for, but.
One last question, ma'am. Could you show us some exercise to open up hip joints?
Yeah, hip joints. You want to do foam rolling for glutes like I taught you. You want to do adductor, inner thigh, get really in close because sometimes you can have tightness there. But if you open up the ITB, your glute and the QL, then that helps a lot for hip opening.
How is foam rolling used in ACL tear patients?
So you can use it based on your assessment. If you think that you are doing ACL rehab for the patient, whether it is post-operative or whether it's conservatively managed ACL tear, it depends on what you find. So if you find that the quadricep is overly active and it needs to settle down, then you do a recovery technique for the quadricep. If you find the hamstring is the problem, then you do. So that again, it's very based on assessment.
So that was the last question, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
So, one last question, ma'am. If patient has not actively done this, can a physio do it passively for the patient?
Yes, yes, absolutely. You can teach family members also to do it. You can keep a handheld roller. You get, so this is one handheld roller, but there are others that you also get, which are long and they have rotating spikes in the middle. So those are very handy to do for the patient. So don't use the big one, use these handheld ones if you are doing it for the patient.
Okay. So that was the last question, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, please unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajni Patil ma'am, for enlightening us with your knowledge and experience for foam roller using in the sports injuries. Thank you, Maharashtra State Coordinator, Dr. Suvarna Ganvir ma'am, and the State Joint Coordinator, Dr. Snehal Patel, for guiding us and helping us whenever needed. Thank you, our Zonal Head, Dr. Pooja Kamble, National Head, Dr. Rushi Varshi, and our President, Dr. Sanjeev Jha sir, for having faith in us. Thank you, State Sub-Coordinators, Dr. Uttara Mohan, Dr. Priya Karande, and Dr. Mirali Sangvi, and entire technical team for always being there for supporting us. Thank you so much, all the physios, for your presence, and have a great day ahead. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajni Patil ma'am, once again,
Thank you. Thank you.
for
It was my
great knowledge
pleasure to be
sharing.
here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, Rajni Madam. It was
Thank you.
wonderful session.
Thank you. I'm very happy. Thank you, Dr. Smriti.
Thank you so much for saying a yes for this webinar.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.